What up traders, what up investors, Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and we are going to be looking at a pretty large moves in Amazon today. Amazon kind of has been trending down the last couple days here, really coming off that high around 33.44 here, and really just trending down the last 3 or 4 days. Again, the overall trend is still intact. Again, what we use here is the 21 and 34, and it has not broken below those lines. Yes, in the very short time frame, if you're using the 5 and 8 exponential moving averages, it has been broken. Looking at a particular trade with someone basically betting on a positive earnings or it kind of being stabilizing for a potential push higher, and really just kind of doing air quotes right now, buying the dip in lack of better words, to kind of see if it can potentially bounce off here. We did kind of break the parabolic SAR here, so that is kind of slightly concerning. But again, this is just very short term. If it can hold around the 28.95-ish level, that could be, or basically 2900-ish, that would be a very strong standpoint and a very strong line in the sand. For that, we're going to draw a very particular line here. We're going to bring out basically we wanted to kind of do this into earnings, maybe, and if it stops there, kind of just bounce here and slowly grind higher into earnings and then have a huge pop. We are also in a position here where we're actually longer dated options all the way out in August and I believe some in September. But we're going to edit this and we're going to make this one of our strongest magical lines, the pink purple line, and make it really extra thick to kind of give that ensuing support that Amazon, hey, we got a line here, you can't cross it, okay? You keep on going up and you make pop us some money. That being said, we did purchase some of those options on the way down around these limits, I believe around the little under 3,000, but now down $50-ish, $60 where we're currently at. Really just wanting to see what happens on bouncing here. If it starts breaking and closing below the 21, you start seeing the 5 and 8 sort of crossing through, we could see some potential further downside. But with earnings on the horizon on the 23rd, that's literally next week, and that is 1 week away from today. Again, don't forget we had Netflix came out with earnings as well today, so check that out. If this is the future Ken talking to tell you to look at for Netflix, it's going to be a huge market sentiment as well. Looking forward to see what happens here with Amazon. We can go ahead and look at the trading tab here. So we go to the time and sales. We have some very interesting activity on the 24th. So this is the day after earnings. That multiple bets have came in, basically just doing, looks like call debit spreads here. So it's all happened. 4 orders were executed, or 2 orders with 2 option legs on each side. Basically at a little over 9:40 and 44 seconds, someone bought 325 calls and then sold 325 calls below it. Kind of creating, because again, Amazon's a very heavily priced stock. Again, this is again a very expensive stock. So looking at the basically, $149 or basically $15,000 per option. You want to kind of cut that debit in half and cut it down as much as you can. And they cut it down quite substantially by selling some calls that are currently out of the money. To kind of give that, it's basically they're betting like a 50-50 chance of these calls potentially making a larger profit, again with the large expectation of an earnings moving upright. Again, as of right now, Lowe's, oh wow, Lowe's is making a nice little high here, that's fantastic. But with Amazon basically 2.5-ish% down, it's still substantially still slightly trending lower to that 21, but we'll see if it can hold towards the end of the day. We're also, this is the future Ken. We already did a live stream, and that most likely we'll see what happens when this video comes out, probably around 5 p.m. today. With this, again, doesn't mean that they're going to be, this doesn't really detail to telling us if they're selling it or buying it, or they're just buying them all straight out. If they're buying them all straight out, that's a pretty large capital. It looks like more of they're just doing some spreads here. Again, 50-50 chance on it being probability of profit. So we can kind of look that here on the Tastyworks page here. You see here that we'll just do the 325 one. So they're basically betting nearly $780,000 for a 50-50 chance to see if Amazon can go higher. Their max profit is, of course, going to be limited to that selling of that put. So max profit, that means it literally has to go extremely high and make a pretty large drastic move to get $858 back in return. Again, total cost of capital is around 783, but as you can see, these spreads are moving and they're fairly wide here, especially the deeper in the money calls here on the 2900 are moving pretty drastically. You can really see that on the potential capital just moving here, moving up and down $10,000-$20,000 on any given second. That being said, that's also a very indication of some folks are being a little bit more bullish on this, maybe potentially buying the dip. We can see, so if they also do the other trade, which was the same amount, or but just different amounts of the 275. So once tomorrow comes out and we see that the open interest has increased, we do see the volume again on these options really kind of went higher. With again, open interest is currently slightly low because that's previous day, but these volume has been significantly getting higher, which is insinuating that these folks are playing the earnings. Again, this is going to be literally the day after earnings, so these markets are going to be moving pretty rapidly fast. Tesla is still coming down here, now down 75. Again, we're still at the 10:30-ish time frame, so it's still a lot of day trading here. We kind of want to see this after 11 and then also into 3 or 4 o'clock to see how this particular trades, because this can easily just kind of just bounce back or continue lower. We'll see what happens. Just have those guidelines out there and be very mindful of that. Again, be completely transparent here. You have to understand that this hedge fund trader or whoever, this doesn't strictly tell you on what they're exactly doing. So we can't know. The white indication means that they paid the mid price, so most likely it's some kind of a debit or credit spread, even though betting some large amounts of money here. If it was a credit spread, they're going to be looking at basically Amazon not doing well on earnings and it going down, and then it has to close below the 2900 as well. We'll know more tomorrow once those open interest numbers come in on that second column. But again, this has been a fairly rapid stock. Now we're down nearly 3%. That's not really a fun position to be in. We're going to see if that purple line can hold here for Amazon. Again, I think it's going to be a fairly large market leader. That's why we gave our options a lot of time to come to fruition. It is going down substantially even more now. That is not concerning, but again, being very mindful of what you're putting into the trade. Again, don't follow this trade if you don't understand it, and then also be mindful of that. This position can change in literally any time, any second, and just make sure that you make sound investment advice to what you're comfortable with and what you're basically you can sleep at night, lack of better words, on seeing on what you're not staying up literally looking at charts at 5 in the morning and seeing what the 2 or 3 people that are trading Amazon at the moment or the futures to see what your potential stock could be. That's a very risky thing to do, and it can really just really ruin and add a lot of excess stress to your life, because Amazon with earnings, like we saw last time, had a nice little run up into earnings, but then kind of had some great numbers, but then they announced that they're going to be doing a lot of expenditures, and Amazon is known for this. Like if you've ever heard any Amazon calls, they're all about putting all their money back into the business, and they're just looking for growth. They want to dominate. They want to own every square foot possible within their retail markets, and any kind of with AWS within the server rack space and the Internet of Things. They want to own everything from like retail side of things. They're getting into the food stuff. They own Whole Foods. Like they're owning the pill pack place where they're trying to get into the pill medicine industry. They're buying up planes and other transportations to further expand their one-day delivery to maybe get it within a couple hours, even in some rural parts of the country. It's pretty phenomenal what they're trying to accomplish here. So this is going to be, again, looking for that 21 to hold here on the daily side. We can kind of go and look at some potential movement if we go down to like a 4-hour chart to kind of see. I don't normally like to do this, but it can kind of show that a potential trend has changed. As you can see right now, that it's still trending below the 5 and 8 exponential moving average. we start needing to see those 5 and 8 exponential moving average start curling or leveling off here. Again, this is a 4-hour chart, so it's not completely like a daily, and it's not a 5-minute chart where it's just completely jumping around like a fly on the wall. This is going to be more looking at the pure trend with the 5 and 8 exponential moving average. If this can start leveling off again with that help of our magical purple line, we could see a potential bounce here. Looking for some overhead resistance around the 30.55-ish level, and then potentially if we go back to the daily chart, we can kind of look at where those resistance levels could be. Again, yeah, around 30.20 to 30.50. Could see some overhead ceiling pressure, but looking fairly strong here that we could see a particular bounce to kind of not breaking all-time highs, but again, we just kind of want this to kind of hold this particular trend and not go too far down and kind of get beaten up too much. We like to get some cheaper prices here, but we don't want it to see completely drowned and just go into completely falling out of the sky. Don't want to catch the falling knife scenario. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out our fantastic Discord, we have some great stuff there, completely free, description down below. We also have a Patreon page if you want to join that to help support the channel. We're doing potentially adding some new tiers to that, more information to come on that. And as well, if you're interested on trading options or learning options, definitely take a look at Tastyworks. This is what we use for options trading, and then Tasty Trade has some really good learning material for you to learn and understand the volatility and the different various option strategies. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is Ken from the Dyslexic Investor, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.